Hello, my name is Paul Bissonnette, and I'm a clinical exercise physiologist here at Pure Lifestyle. Today, I'll be teaching you safe lifting techniques to help you avoid injuries when lifting at work or throughout life. Before lifting anything, you always want to go over a checklist of items. First, you'll want to know, what are you lifting? Pretty obvious. Number two, you'll want to know how heavy is the item that you're lifting. Number three, can you lift this by yourself? Or do you need assistance by having somebody else help you or using an assistance tool like a dolly or a jack? Number four, you'll want to know what is the height and distance that you may want to carry this load. And finally, you'll want to assess the lifting area and pathway to make sure there's no obstructions that may cause you to trip and have an injury. When it comes to lifting, there are many variations of lifts that can be performed. Today, we're going to go over two fundamental lifts: the squat and the deadlift. The squat is ideal when lifting what we call the power zone. So that's gonna be a height from your knees to your shoulders. Meanwhile, the deadlift is ideal for lifting heavier weights from the ground and no higher than the waist. When it comes to actually lifting and starting off, your position is always key. You're gonna wanna make sure that you get as close as you can to that item that you're lifting, as well as you wanna make sure that you're gonna be square to that item. You don't wanna be in an awkward position or overreaching, because that may cause some injuries. So how do we perform these lifts? So you're gonna get as close as you can to that weight, as mentioned earlier, and making sure that you're square. So we're gonna start by pushing our hip horizontally, so pushing it back towards this wall and having our torso lean forward, keeping that spine nice and flat. So what that's gonna look like, I'm gonna hinge from the hip, pushing that hip back as far as I can, reach back. Noticing my hip is going back this way. There's minimal knee bend here. All the stress is on the hip. Back is flat. From here, I'm gonna lift that weight by pushing my hip forward, thrusting the hip forward, and then that's gonna cause me to come nice and tall. And then from this position, I can move forward and then back down. For the squat, we're gonna wanna get as close as we can to the weight. And again, nice and square. So the squat's gonna start by almost like you're sitting on a chair. You're gonna want your hip to go kind of back and down, and as you go down, your knees are gonna bend, your torso is gonna stay pretty upright as you go down. So I'm gonna use this box as a demo here. Again, this is in the power zone height. So we're gonna go down, push the hip back, and then bend the knees. As my hip drops down, I'm gonna get down to the height that I need. I'm gonna grab that box, making sure it's nice and close to my body, tuck it in, nice and tall, and then from that position, I could walk forward. If I do need to change directions, avoid any twisting. We wanna make sure that we're gonna pivot with the hips and walk in that direction. So whenever you're changing directions, make sure it's coming from the hips and not from the torso. And then we're gonna put it back down. As you can see, both movements are very similar, but are ideal for different situations. The key factors here is that we make sure that our spine is nice and neutral and flat, and you engage your core, as well as making sure we're lifting from the legs, pushing through the ground, and make sure the hip is carrying the load. Lastly, don't lift beyond your means, and if you think it's too heavy or too an awkward lift, make sure you get some assistance, either by getting a coworker or a friend, or getting yourself an assistant tool like a dolly or a jack. Hopefully these tips can help you avoid any future injuries down the line. And if you're currently suffering from any injuries, we'd love to have you come down and book an assessment with one of our professionals and help you recover quickly and get you back to whatever you were doing. Thank you.